Hello, my name is Dominic Underhallhouse and welcome to another episode of Moonbreaker. That's right, we're back. We've got something we can really look forward to getting covered, and that is to have a look at some of the new captains and crew coming in the Beast and Blooms update. So we've been given the soon TM in the Discord to see when the update is going to be coming, so fingers crossed. I'm hoping in the next week or so, most likely. And on the experimental server, we've got a few of these units that we can have a look at. I already am unsure whether some of these are going to be the final versions, because there was the devlog a couple of days ago, which if you haven't seen it yet, please do go check it out on the Moonbreaker channel. It was awesome. There's so many really exciting updates coming. I've really loved the change in even little things like the map saturation and the sort of distinction of the terrain. And then hearing that in a couple of big updates time there's going to be 5 new captains at one point, which is utterly mad. But for now we're getting 2 more, which doesn't sound like a huge amount until you realise that's a 66% increase in the number of captains in the game. We're going from 3 to 5 very, very soon, and it's going to shake up absolutely everything. So I couldn't be more excited. I'm really glad to have, keen things for Moonbreaker again. For anyone who's wondering, I've been queuing up for Moonbreaker games most days. Now I don't necessarily have too long to queue, and so I've been struggling to find them, so there's no lack of trying to make content, but I just don't want to put something out there that's going to be just me talking for no real reason. So I'm really keen to be getting back to Moonbreaker, and hopefully you guys are too. If you like the video, please do like, subscribe, comment, join us on the Patreon in the description, and commenting is the best thing you can do. I love to see what you guys think of all these things, but for now, let's have a look at what the experimental server shows us for the new units. So the first thing I want to look at is that the 2 new captains. The first one we've got is Gardener Joe. So they've said that this is the temporary model. They're trying to do some work here, the dev team, of cleaning up some of the models, making them look a little bit less busy so they're easier to identify when you're playing games. I think the model looks awesome. From what I understand, it's not going to be too different to this, but I believe we're not going to be able to paint this initially when it comes in, because the model's going to change and you lose all your hard work, so don't worry about that too much for the meantime. But my god, is it beautiful. We've literally got a garden shelf built into a unit here, and I think this is the first of the is it Yaoeti? Ooh, we've got lore here. Okay, I might have to look at that in just a moment. This is exciting. I'm getting keen again. So Gardener Joe, large base size. I mean, it would be ridiculous if this wasn't large looking at it. At the end of turn, give nourished to allied units in range. So this is +1 max health that's removed when you take damage, so you can't be healed back up again past your initial total. But this is really, really interesting, especially if you can just sort of sit in the middle of things and you have other things that heal up, like 6 Nectarvine, things like that. There could be some really interesting synergies there. The abilities here, so you also notice no attack. We've got no attack on Gardener Joe whatsoever. It's our first full support style captain. And here we've got plant a Thornvine. So a Thornvine has brambles, so when you touch it, it deals 1 damage, and if it's nourished, nourished at a turn start. So when, nourished at turn start, but this nourishes at the end. Oh, okay, so if it's still got the nourish buff, then it turns into a greater Thornvine. I will have to look at these in game. I believe they are basically 1 attack, 3 health models that essentially, I think they just attack and move and attack potentially. So on their own, at the moment I've only seen them attack in the devlog, but they might be able to move too. And then we've got Fertilised Soil. At the start of your next turn, all units in an area gain +2 speed. I love that. I absolutely love it. I think it's just a really fun utility thing to do. And also, if the nourished Thornvines still have the brambles, that's a really fun way of just increasing the damage of Gardener Joe. So there's actually going to be a good amount of damage output, but you need to build around it. You need to put investment in. If you want to castle up, being able to plant Thornvines around and hide behind it is an awesome look. So we'll have a quick look at the lore. It felt essential for our cultivation to join the Cholek for this ritual. The young amplifier gathered some drifting Naya on the verge of their airborne phase. We carried a large stone font to the top of Kuru Hill and planted flowers around it, which to me looks like maybe this. This could be the large stone font. I was given the honour of sprinkling the ashes onto the flower bed while the Fate Twister filled the font with water from the stream. For days we each took opportunity to water the Naya from the front, face the sun, and spread out arms wide and remember. The Fate Twister announced when it was time. We climbed up the hill together to watch the flowers uproot, take flight, and drift towards Tona's embrace. Log entry for the Cultivation Archive. That's awesome. So there we go. That's the first of the 2 new captains, but that's not all there is. The update is Beasts and Blooms. We've covered the blooms. Time for the beasts. So this is Zuna. Zuna's already been much anticipated. She's Zax's absent wife. She has disappeared after the whatever event it was that happened. Personally, I'm really keen to hear the lore as well. I love the audio dramas. I think they're fantastic. I cannot wait to hear the next one. And Zuna is the beast side of things. So, again, Zuna, no attack. So the last one I believe was Yayaweti. This I believe is going to be a Cholek, potentially, I think it is. I believe that's still the case. Looking at the style, it does seem to be. Especially with the stilts. Stilts seem a very Cholek thing. So Zuna is small. Deploy Toltecan at the game start. So Toltecan, you won't see it here, but it's actually the wolf, a dog sort of thing. Toltecan is a robotic dog. And the coolest thing about it is Toltecan can't die. So when it would be destroyed, it's disabled instead. I love that. I think it's fantastic. I've already got a question that I'm sure is going to upset some people, but when it comes to Pacifier Oatley, which we'll look at in a minute, we'll have to see how that works with Toltecan, because Oatley can return units to the bridge. Can that be something that can be targeted onto Toltecan, because it's not a captain, but maybe it doesn't count as crew either, so fingers crossed that'll be there. Anyway, Toltecan is basically making up for Zuna's lack of attack, has 3 attack, 8 health, he gains Cinder as well, which is actually meaning that if you've got Zuna, you're getting 3 Cinder per turn rather than 2, which is really big. Like, that's actually quite impressive to have extra Cinder coming from it. I don't know if that'll change, but if Toltecan will be destroyed, it's disabled instead, so it just sort of becomes inactive, and it's got 2 Cinder. Howl, crew in range, lose 3 speed for a turn, which I love that. Board control, I adore it. I want anything where I can start to control the battlefield a little bit more, feel like you're taking advantage of your ability to use utility over the opponent's ability to use damage. It's great. These 2 abilities, I believe that Majan has now been changed to Squawk, or may still be Majan, not sure which is the real version, but also the costs are different. They've been switched around, I believe. Or maybe it's the same. I don't know. I'm not sure which costs they are, which way around they are, but basically, this one here is the little bug, and at the end of every turn, restore health to target crew, 3 health. So it's a bug that follows whichever crew member you send it to, and at the end of every turn, gives them 3 health back. That's really nice, good. That's a really strong healing ability, but it's just absolutely awesome in itself. Deploy Majan creates an obscuring area, maximum of 1 on the battlefield. So being able to actually reduce enemy accuracy means that you can actually set up a little bit further back. This is going to have so much utility for trying to use a melee list to move them forward, or even protecting Toltecan. And you can just gradually work your way towards the opponent and stay a little bit safer through the obscuring terrain. The other part of this is, at the end of turn, if disabled Toltecan is in range, enable it and restore 4 health, so you can just keep bringing your dog back over and over again, run around with 3 different animals in your team, none of which appear to take up any crew slots. So absolutely awesome, really love the look of Zuna. Hopefully we can have a bit of fun with this as well. And Zuna's lore. For years I've been trying to forget Nemi in my dreams. My mind unleashes. I'm running to the ship. I feel the scorching heat, the shaking moon, see the horrifying fissures. The sun is impossibly huge. Pieces are breaking off, screaming towards it. I hear raw panic, sounds I've never heard people or animals make. I rush to the last patch of red Nakia I'll ever see. Rush past it, rather. The birds flew off long ago. Once aboard, I can't look back. I only stare at a girl sobbing as she's strapped in. Her brown eyes will never see home again. Every animal, plant, river, all those people gone, and I will never see you again, Nemi. Personal log of an Arawatu survivor. So, my understanding of the lore is that Zuna is from a moon where either everything evacuated or died, and she has tried to recapture some of the animal essence of her home by creating these mechanical beasts to join her. Fantastic lore idea. Can't wait to see it in game. Really does seem interesting. Now, the crew themselves. I'm not going to go through the lore on the crew. I'm going to let you read that on your own time, but we're going to look at these here. The first one is Fixer. Now, Fixer looks amazing. Absolutely something that I want to play in my lists. It's my sort of playstyle through and through. It's a 1 leadership, 2 attack, 7 health unit. Generates 1 cinder, 4 movement speed, so pretty reasonable. And this right here, Call Favour. Choose a crew. If friendly, it gains Infused for 3 turns, which is gaining 1 additional Cinder every turn, which used to be the case of Cinder Infusion, the assist, which was removed from the game. And you'll see in the style of this, there's a couple of assists that have worked their way into units. and then if a rival, give it a bounty for 3 turns. So if you think you can kill your opponent's unit, you can just put this on it, kill it straight away, and gain yourself an extra victory point. So bounty is a mechanic that the devs have said they are playing with, they're still wanting to bring to the game in some form or another. I think it sounds great. I'm not sure how it needs to be balanced, what the most fun way of putting it together is, but bounty seems really, really interesting as a mechanic. I can't wait to try it out, and frankly, I think Fixer looks absolutely awesome. Funnily enough, the dress sense and hairstyle reminds me of one of my former colleagues, so a bit bizarre that, but really, really cool. Also, I love the giant cinder-powered, I'm assuming, glove there. Almost reminding me of Vi from League of Legends, or Vi from Arcane if you follow the memes. So Fixer, awesome looking 1-drop. I see that being in many, many of my lists. I think that's just something I want to play. Next up, we've got Whispers. So Whispers is a 2 leadership, 0 attack unit with 8 health. I love this. I mean, look at all these guys. They don't exactly look like they're whispering. They're hollering into some sort of Dr. Seuss style gigantic megaphone trumpet blaster things. It's fantastic. They've got Feel the Music as their ability, and it's push all targets in range, and crew in range gain powerless for a turn. So it just means they can't use any abilities for the following turn, which is awesome. I mean, there's so many really good abilities in this. If you can get this near to an enemy unit or 2 that are actually ability only, say if you got this near a Aegis Sentinel or a Florio, you can just turn off their ability to attack completely. So absolutely awesome. Love the look of Whispers. Great design. There's also going to be so much fun you can have painting something as ridiculous as this. I'm looking forward to seeing people painting each of these slightly differently and seeing what sort of real life or anime or TV show teams they're going to be able to paint these as. You could make these Power Rangers, you can make these anything at all. I can't wait to see the paint schemes for Whispers. That is going to be absolutely awesome. Now, where's our next one? We are looking for Arms Dealer Yuki. Here we go. So yeah, the remaining ones we've got here are Pacifier Oatly and Dr. Feelbad, but Arms Dealer Yuki first. So Yuki is a 5 cost, 2 attack, 9 health unit. Fire Sale. Give each ally crew in range a single-use grenade, flamethrower, or mine. I have no idea how these work, but luckily there is a slight thing we can use here, which is the brand new feature of Try Me. So the Try Me feature is something that we're going to see coming up a little bit more often. As far as I can tell, it looks like they've been creating little scenarios for each of the characters. I don't know if it's fully functioning yet. I'm literally just jumping into this with no idea if I'm expecting it to work. But there's going to be a little scenario you can try for each character and learn their abilities. You find out what they do, and sometimes there's going to be a little bit of a incentive to do so, I imagine. So it looks at the moment that this isn't fully implemented, so I'm not going to necessarily know what these things do, but to be honest, I've heard that it could be quite cool. So we're not going to be able to, unfortunately... Oh, we can't quit this either. Bear with me, I'll be back in a moment. I will have a look back at Arms Dealer Yuki. Okay, we are back with Arms Dealer Yuki. It turns out the Try Me feature, not quite ready to go yet, but honestly, this model looks fantastic. Also, I'm really curious as to what this is supposed to say. I'd love it if we end up having a way of reading that in the future, or some sort of translation guide. I love things like that. But yeah, I love it also that it's properly like the old school street vendor selling something illegal. They've got it all on the inside of their coat and they just open it up to show you all the goods. And it looks like Arms Dealer Yuki is doing exactly that. We'll have to have a look and see what these things do, but the fact it gives it to each unit in range is awesome. The devs, so Charlie did say that they're looking at maybe limiting which units can take it. For instance, can you give an Ursix Neck Divine a grenade? We'll have to see if that's a viable option, but the art design is fantastic. There's going to be so much fun to be had with it, and honestly, it looks gorgeous, and I really hope it plays as well as it looks. Okay, next up after Arms Dealer Yuki, we are looking at Pacifier Oatly. So this is what I was talking about with Zuna. A Pacifier Oatly is a 5 cost, 3 melee damage, 9 health unit with Pacify. Return crew to the bridge and take 1 damage. So the interesting thing about this is that tempo is such an important part of a lot of games with scaling resources, like card games and things like that, and it's going to be even more the case with Moonbreaker. The fact that this can just run into range, say if your opponent's made a really defensive setup, you could say Pacify their Aged Defense Dome. I mean, what can they do about that? You can then just immediately run up and start dealing with the things that are being protected. You can send anything back, something's in your way, you can't get to what you need to, just send it back. I think this is going to be far more powerful than people realise initially, and I think having 3 attack as well on a unit like this, I'm optimistic. I think this could be a really fun unit to use, and hopefully you guys think so too. Again, I love all of this design. Plant and machine coming together, these little shelves, trays of like growing trays of plants as well. There's little soil in every section. This is fantastic. I absolutely love it. I think Oakley is going to be one of those ones that could be absolutely absurd. I wouldn't be surprised to be wrong, but I love the look of it. I think it could be awesome. And last up, we've got Dr. Feelbad. And Dr. Feelbad is the return of Corrosive Particles Assist, but in unit form. So it is a 6 cost, 0 attack unit. And at the moment, it doesn't do any attack whatsoever. It doesn't have any actual ability to do damage, but what it does is amplifies everything else. So he's going to be using these mechanical arms here, because if you look here, these are mechanical, his real arms are here, so he's more like a bug with a big trench coat on, and the ability is fantastic. For the next turn, units in the area take 1 extra damage whenever they take damage, which is on the left gun. So that's this one here. It's very important to know that one's a 1 cost ability to do that effect. For the right gun, units in the area take 1 extra damage whenever they take damage. It's got the same ability twice, obviously with additional cinder cost to it, so 3 cinder to use it. But if these abilities stack, every single damage is going to be dealing 3 damage. So for instance, a Maximus deals 6. 6 damage on a Maximus is utterly absurd, and it just seems awesome. I love it. I think it's going to be it's obviously a synergy unit. It needs to be expensive because this effect is ridiculously powerful, especially if it's got any reasonable amount of range. And I think that as long as you've got some good support with it, Feelbad could just start shredding through units. Even armoured units just going to disappear even faster than they already do. So that is it. That is our Beast and Bloom sort of first look at the units. Like I said earlier, some of these are likely to change before we see them in the live version. Some of them are already different to the devlog. I'm not quite sure what's going to be coming out, but there's going to be some awesome things coming through. And also, this right here is it's not quite my favourite, but I'm going to be doing this immediately. Defeat a rogue crew in Sparky Mayhem in the Serenus. This is the final one of the new tutorial trials, and you unlock the Foam Maximus skin. I can't wait. I love Foam Maximus. We called him Minimus, and I will be playing him pretty much exclusively as my Maximus skin as soon as I can unlock this. I love it. I think it looks fantastic. I'm really, really excited to get it and play with it. Probably not quite as much as I am the new units, and especially new captains, but really I do want Foam Maximus. So if you guys have enjoyed this, I'd really love to hear from you in the comments below. What I'd really like to hear the most though is how do you think having 5 captains is going to change things compared to having 3? Do you think it's going to be a case that one stands way higher than the other and everyone just gravitates to one? Are we going to start ending up in situations where certain captains counter others? Are you looking forward to having things like the Gardener Joe, who's a build-around captain? I really want to hear your guys' opinions on captains, but if you like the video, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, head over to the Patreon description if you'd like to, but most importantly, thank you so much for watching, and have a good day.